I have spent a considerable amount of time driving at night throughout my life, not for work or anything specific, but rather due to my old friend group's habit of staying out until the early hours of the morning when we were in our late teens and early 20s. Looking back, I realize it was a foolish and unproductive way to spend our time, but it led to numerous experiences encountering drunk and unpredictable individuals on the roads. On a particular weekend night, it must have been approaching 4 a.m., and I was ready to head home. After dropping off one of my friends, I stopped at a gas station to refuel before driving myself home. I had a preference for getting gas at night since there were usually no other cars around to obstruct my access. Pulling into one of my regular gas stations, not far from my parents' house, I noticed a short individual wearing a hood walking past me. Suddenly, he stopped in his tracks and stared me down as I continued walking. I instinctively asked, "What?" as I moved past him, but he remained silent. I dismissed him as a typical crackhead and proceeded into the building to pay the attendant for my gas. While inside, I also decided to purchase a lottery ticket. Returning to my car, I began filling up and surveyed the area, finding it deserted as expected at that hour. Once I completed fueling, I got back into my car and embarked on my journey home. However, halfway through the drive, I heard a noise coming from behind me inside the car. Glancing into the rearview mirror, I was shocked to see someone seated in the back, staring directly at me. The sheer terror that engulfed me prompted a scream so loud that it felt as though my lungs were about to collapse. I slammed on the brakes and screamed at the intruder to get out. Knowing that several people would respond upon hearing my distress, I opened the car doors and began shouting for help. True to my expectation, the porch lights of a couple of nearby houses flickered on, and I witnessed some doors opening as concerned neighbors emerged. The person quickly exited my car, taunting me with the chilling words, "I could have slit your throat." As a few individuals came closer to assist, the intruder fled down the street. I decided not to pursue him. After all, I wasn't about to engage in a chase with a volatile crackhead. Grateful for the people who came to my aid, I thanked them and cautiously resumed my journey home, ensuring that I didn't catch sight of the intruder anywhere else during the drive. Without a doubt, that encounter stands as the most terrifying experience of my life. I worked the night shift at a gas station because I needed a second job and was strapped for cash. I had been working there for a few months when a strange guy started showing up regularly around 2 a.m. He was about 6 feet tall with long, stringy hair. Every time he came in, he would buy a tall boy and leave without purchasing gas. After a while, he asked me my name, and when I told him, he kept repeating it as he laughed to himself. From then on, he would always greet me by my name, Rob, whenever he came in. One night, he asked me for my name again, but this time he told me his name was Bob. I found it odd and wondered if he chose that name because it rhymed with mine. Bob always gave me a creepy vibe, especially when he was noticeably drunk. He would sometimes just lean on the shelves and stare at the wall without saying anything. One stormy night, with fewer customers than usual, Bob walked in completely soaked without wearing a rain jacket or using an umbrella. He stood by the door, looking angry and lost in his thoughts. Concerned, I asked Bob if he was okay. He didn't respond or move, he just stood there staring blankly at nothing. Finally, he uttered, "I did something really bad," before walking past me towards the restroom hallway. He disappeared behind the wall, and I heard one of the restroom doors open and close. Feeling uneasy about Bob's behavior, I decided to check on him. As I walked by the restrooms, both doors were slightly ajar, and Bob was nowhere to be found. I proceeded to the back of the store, planning to check the panel board, when I heard dripping sounds and the squeaking of wet shoes. I mustered the courage to call out to Bob, but instead of a response, he lunged at me with wide-open eyes, screaming that he was going to kill me. I managed to push him off and ran back to the front of the store. The lights suddenly went out, plunging the gas station into darkness. I used a flashlight to make my way towards the back, only to discover that Bob had disappeared. Frightened, I grabbed my rain jacket and quickly made my way to my car. I called 911 and informed them about the situation, staying on the line until the police arrived. They found Bob hiding in the back room, appearing agitated and under the influence of something. It was later revealed that his real name was Martin, and he had brutally murdered his ex-wife, possibly on the same night he visited the gas station. The incident had a profound impact on me, and I vowed never to work another night shift or put myself in a similar situation again. I learned the hard way that we must be cautious and vigilant in potentially unsafe work environments. People may not always be who they seem, and we can encounter real threats. Since that night, I have avoided night shifts and made different choices regarding my work and lifestyle. This incident occurred in the mid-1960s in the Atlanta area. At that time, I was around 8 or 9 years old. My father worked as a schoolteacher in a suburb of Atlanta, which was located quite a distance from our home. Since I attended the same school where he taught, I would ride with him every day. However, our morning started very early, before the sun was up. We would often stop at a small independent gas station a few times a week to fill up on gas. We were usually the first customers there, as the station had just opened. During that era, it was a full-service station, where an attendant would come out, fill our tank, wash the windows, and provide other services. The attendant would always have a substantial amount of cash in his pocket and a coin-counting device on his belt. Behind the gas pumps, there were small restrooms, and on mornings when we stopped there, I would often use the bathroom due to the long drive. One morning, we arrived before dawn and found the station completely deserted. It was eerily quiet, except for the sounds of passing traffic. There was no sign of the attendant in the booth or anywhere else around the station. My father honked the car horn a few times, but there was no response. We speculated about what might have happened. Initially, my father suggested that the attendant might be in the restroom, but when he didn't appear, my father theorized that the attendant might have experienced car trouble and couldn't make it to work on time. We waited for several minutes, but no other cars arrived. I expressed my need to use the restroom and reached for the car door handle, but my father told me we couldn't wait any longer and that I could use the restroom at the next station we came across. So, we left, still wondering what had transpired. A day or two later, while reading the local newspaper, my father exclaimed loudly. He excitedly informed my mother and me about a small article reporting that the body of a gas station attendant had been discovered in the men's restroom of the same station we always frequented. The attendant had been brutally stabbed multiple times. The article indicated that the motive appeared to be robbery since all the cash and coins were missing. Although the total amount of money in the early morning might not have been significant, it didn't deter the killer. I often wondered how deeply it would have affected me at such a young age if I had insisted on using the restroom at that station and had opened the door to find the lifeless body of the murdered attendant. From that point on, we never went back to that gas station again.